This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I don't know why the hell I said good afternoon when I'm in Los Angeles, California, and it's still the morning. This is how I feel. It don't matter. Morning, afternoon, it don't matter. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you on ESPN Radio, as I love to do. 250-plus markets across the United States of America, and, of course, nationwide on ESPN Radio, on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. I'm coming at you live from Los Angeles, California, across the street from the Staples Center, site of the 2018 NBA All-Star festivities, a slam dunk contest, a skills contest, a three-point shooting contest on Saturday night, the celebrity game on ESPN Friday night, that is tonight, and of course, the big-time All-Star game that's scheduled to take place Sunday afternoon inside the Staples Center. Again, the number to call up is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. We can talk about the All-Star festivities and what you're looking forward to most, the three-point shooting contest, the skills contest, the slam dunk contest. We can talk about the rule changes that took place with the All-Star game and whether or not you approve and does it elevate your level of interest in the All-Star game, considering the fact that the two leading vote getters for each team gets to pick the team of players that they want playing alongside them for All-Star Weekend. We can do all of that, but we all know that on a day like today, what the big story is. LeBron James and Kevin Durant coming together and speaking on a plethora of issues, primarily the President of the United States and some of the things that they had to say. It's deemed to be somewhat controversial in the eyes of some people, and right on point in the eyes of others. No matter what you peel from it, it's worthy of a conversation because there are different and dissenting views. You've got progressives and liberals. You've got conservatives and Republicans, and people are on both sides of the aisle feeling the way that they feel. This is not a political show, and we ain't about to get into the politics. But in a minute, I'll tell you why the stories, their comments in particular, will and should resonate. Let me say this. And I sincerely hope that a bunch of conservatives, a bunch of Republicans are listening to this show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about myself real quick before I get into this, because you see, unlike a lot of people who want to run from the subject because you're fearful of it being misinterpreted because there's a conservative or a Republican community out there ready to castigate you, particularly if you have views and you work at ESPN, as if there are not conservatives that work at ESPN. This notion that ESPN is rife with a bunch of progressives and liberals, boy, people got their head in the sands. ESPN's got everything. Liberal, Republicans, conservative, progressive. It don't matter. They got it all. They got it all. I happen to be one of those guys who is clearly and unquestionably a middle-of-the-road guy, much to the chagrin of some of the people that love me daily and work with me and our family and friends. There are some things I'm liberal about. There's some things I'm conservative about. And I got news for you. As an African-American, this notion that a whole bunch of African-Americans are nothing but liberals and progressives, you got your head in the sand. There's black conservatives all over the place. Even when you vote liberal, you live conservatively. I got news for you. You got a problem. If you think for 1 second that there's a bunch of black people that don't have conservative points of views about a whole plethora of things. You don't know black people if you think otherwise. Having said all of that, here's where we need to get deep into the woods about this. Once again, it's not about politics. And if you are a conservative or a Republican or just a staunch supporter of Donald Trump, you need to understand where LeBron James and Kevin Durant are coming from. They in no way mentioned the man's politics. You had a whole bunch of liberals and progressives that had a problem with President Trump's selection for the Supreme Court justice. Tell me when you heard an athlete speak on that issue. It has not happened. It has not happened. He might be willing to open stuff for the Keystone Pipeline. You haven't heard an athlete speak about that. entitlement programs and how much money is being pushed into that. You haven't heard athletes speak about that. You never heard it. The list goes on with a plethora of things. North Korea, when he called Kim Jong-un the little rocket man. Somebody better tell the little rocket man. You didn't hear the athletes speak about that. You didn't hear anybody say anything about that. You haven't heard anybody in the athletic community speaking about politics. The only thing that comes close to political dialogue is the wall. And for some people, it's as simplistic as it's a wall, it's being divisive, it's not taking into account the immigrants that live in this country and that are helping this country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the closest thing you heard to politics. Nobody said anything. So what that does is beg the question, what you in an uproar about? What are you in an uproar about? Because if you look at a president, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go where a lot of people would be afraid to go. With friends and loved ones right in front of my face right now. I'm going to go there. The shooting that took place in Florida, where 17 people were gunned down. We heard stuff about mental health issues on the part of the 19-year-old shooter and all of this other stuff. But when we heard that he was influenced by a white supremacist group, we haven't heard a word from the president. Those are things that people think about. That's not about politics. That's about a person. And since when do athletes don't have a right to comment about a person, particularly when we're living in an age where we comment about them all the time? If LeBron James passed gas on Broadway, it's front page news. If Kevin Durant sat up there and spoke out of turn, it's front page news. If Lonzo Ball walked down Rodeo Drive and gave somebody the middle finger, it might be a headline on the front page of the Los Angeles Times. So we can comment about that. But they can't turn around and comment about the leader of the free world and about how he, not Republicans, not conservatives, not some movement, not politics, just him as an individual. We can't comment about that? Why not? What's wrong with that? Who the hell do you think you are to sit up there and look at these guys and act like they're not supposed to say a word about a person? And I'm not going to let people be slick out there and try to turn it into some liberal versus Republican, progressive versus conservative, and all of this other stuff. I'm not going to let you do it. You're not going to hijack the issue because the players are not doing that. They are not talking about politics. They are not talking about policy. They're talking about a human being. LeBron James sent out a text months ago when your president opened his mouth and he called them a bum. I didn't approve of that. I don't think you should be calling the president of the United States a bum. I think that's beyond the pale. But he said it was an honor to come to the White House until you arrived. So that means it was not just an honor when Obama was there. It was an honor when Bush was there. It was an honor when Clinton was there. It was an honor when the H.W. Bush was there. It was an honor when Reagan was there. It was an honor when Ford was there. He said, quote, it was an honor until you arrived. How is that political? Y'all trying to hijack the issue and turn it into something it is not. This is not about politics. It's about iconic figures in the world of sports with incredible cachet and money to back it up, who have a problem with the divisiveness that exists in our society, and a leader they feel not only has done little to nothing to discourage it, but actually displays and exudes a level of behavior that encourages it. And if the athlete can't speak about it now, what the hell you ever wasted time calling them role models for to begin with? Think on that, because I got more. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Jenny had a dream of joining the national bobsled team. She worked out relentlessly and knew that if she just refused to give up, one day her dream would come true and she'd stand triumphantly up on the podium. But when her kids reminded her that she was 52 and she lived in Texas, and maybe she started dreaming this dream a little late in life, she gave up on not giving up. But then she heard how Geico could save her money on car insurance, so she switched and achieved that dream instead.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who may not be that familiar with sports, but you happen to be listening to this radio show right now, the Stephen A. Smith Show, by the time it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. LeBron James and Kevin Durant are two of the greatest players on the planet. Not only are they two of the greatest players on the planet, both of them are making over $28 million per year. Both of them are worth over $300 million. In LeBron's case, he's worth close to $1 billion. Kevin Durant has an endorsement deal over $300 million. And here's the worst part for y'all. Both of them are worth every penny. Every single penny. They're great at what they do. They don't cheat you. They bring the rain. They bring greatness every day. And as a result of their greatness, they are held accountable. If they act up, if they're in the news for the wrong reasons, if they misbehave, if they speak out of turn, etc., they are called to the carpet for it. Did I set that up nice for you? Because the Fox News channel, Mrs. Laura Ingraham, took the liberty of speaking and commenting in reaction to LeBron James and Kevin Durant's statements about the POTUS. And listen to what she had to say.
Must they run their mouths like that? Unfortunately, a lot of kids and some adults take these ignorant comments seriously. Look, there might be a cautionary lesson in LeBron for kids. This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
That was Laura Ingraham of Fox News. I had the pleasure of meeting Laura Ingraham one time. It was during the NFC Championship game in Philly a few weeks ago. I happen to believe she's somebody who is incredibly knowledgeable about the world of politics. She knows more than most people because she covers it for a living. She has a damn good show on Fox News. She's knowledgeable about politics. She is respected as a pundit and a commentator because she speaks with substance. But it doesn't make her comments in this particular instance correct. And Laura Ingraham, if you are listening, there is no doubt that your comments are highly insensitive. What does LeBron James not going to college or Kevin Durant going through 1 year college have to do with anything? Did you say that about Trump supporters who may not have gone to college? I think that for LeBron James and Kevin Durant to be individuals who didn't either go to college or complete their years in college, I think they're doing quite fine. Have you ever spoken to them? Have you listened to them speak? As a white individual, did it ever occur to you that the sensitivities they're speaking about, you're ill-equipped to comment about? Because it ain't affecting your community. Did you ever think about that? Now, before folks get in an uproar, you see, this is where you messing with the wrong dude. Stephen A. Smith's the wrong dude to come at with this stuff. You know, this stuff that you try to attack ESPN about, you know, conservative and all of this other stuff. Do you know how often I talk to Sean Hannity? Do you know how often I talk to Mark Levin? Do you know that I know they have forgotten more than most people know about politics, including myself? Do you know that I still find myself disagreeing with what they say at least 50% of the time? And if the black community stood up in unison and tried to dog them for ignorance or racism or anything like that, they'd have somebody in me standing front and center and say, you don't get to do that. You can disagree with them all you want to, but don't tell me who they are, because I know them. As crazy as Sean Hannity is, half the time in my estimation, as berserk as Mark Levin goes from time to time, I happen to believe they're incredibly knowledgeable and actually decent human beings who I got a lot of love for, who I just happen to disagree with politically. Period. You're not going to attach incendiary comments to them, and they're diehard conservatives. Just like I listen to them, I listen to my man Joe Madison every morning, every chance I get. I listen to Karen Hunter. I listen to Dr. Michael Eric Dyson and Mark Lamont Hill and Mark Thompson and a host of other people who might be leaning more to the left than to the right. And guess what conclusion I reach? That's up to them to debate the politics, because they know more than I could ever hope to know. And I'm not about to sit up there and castigate anybody from any side just because they disagree with me. But what is undeniable on any side, if you look at the behavior that the President of the United States has engaged in, the rhetoric that he has spewed, the rhetoric he got caught spewing before the election even arrived, is that consistent with what conservatives said they wanted as a representative? We all know the answer to that is no. So if you would have a problem with the rhetoric that he spewed, and you would have a problem with the rhetoric that he has spewed and the behavior that he has exhibited and the insensitivity that he has displayed, why can't the young black athlete, particularly as it pertains to the direct successor to the first African American president in the United States of America, who, by the way, happened to be a sports fan, knowledgeable about the world of sports, who also had different political views than the kind of stuff that he's espousing, why can't they have a problem with the man's behavior, particularly when the world holds you accountable as if you're the one who ran for president of the United States? Laura Ingraham is right. 62 million people didn't vote for LeBron James or Kevin Durant. But I don't recall Kevin Durant or LeBron James asking 62 million people to vote for them. I recall them leaning on the adults in the room to make sure that the right people are in place. So not just from a literal and a political perspective, but also from a human perspective and an adult perspective. If you're going to sit up there and hold 20 and 25 and 28 and 33-year-olds accountable for their behavior just because they dribble a damn basketball, how can you not hold a man accountable that has direct impact on the lives of over 350 million Americans? If LeBron James and Kevin Durant came out and abhorred Donald Trump's policies, chapter and verse, Laura Ingraham would have a point. They did not do that. What they did was say, whoa, do you see what happened in Charlottesville? Do you see what happened in Florida? Do you see this man's hesitancy and reluctance to knock down and completely obliterate and castigate racism and white supremacy and all of these other things? They don't have a point. They don't have a point. But these are the same people. If the black athlete came out and supported Black Lives Matter, you got a problem. Which one is it? Which side you gonna take? You either want people to speak up or you want them to be silent. And all I'm saying is, we live in a world where an athlete who's catching touchdown passes or dribbling a basketball is held accountable more so than the president of the United States on moral positions. The problem isn't that LeBron James and Kevin Durant have a problem with that. The problem is the tens of millions of people who don't. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Your phone calls and more up next. You were listening. Stephen A. Smith Show, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
My apologies to the Fox News host. Her last name is Ingram. Even though it's spelled Ingraham, it's Ingram, I've been told. Laura Ingram. So my apologies. I wanted to make sure that I got her name right. But piggybacking off of what she said, ladies and gentlemen, she basically brought up LeBron James and Kevin Durant's education or lack thereof. Bring that up about baseball players? Come out of high school, go to the minor leagues, don't even think about going to college half the time? How about tennis players? How about them? How about hockey players? Bring up anything about them? Now, granted, they ain't the one that made some video commenting about POTUS, and I can understand that. But nevertheless, I haven't heard that before. See, these are the kind of things that get folks in trouble. Now, I'm not sitting up here calling her a racist and all of that other stuff, and I'm encouraging you all not to do that either. She was giving an opinion. She was spewing a diatribe. She was going off. I think she's wrong. I think that she was insensitive. That doesn't mean that her character deserves to be assassinated because of it. She's obviously a conservative who supports the president in office. And she was reacting to incendiary comments made about him by these athletes. So we shouldn't look for a reason to castigate her as a person. But you can pick apart what she said. And you can ask the question, what does LeBron James' education have to do with anything? Did he not speak cogently and fluidly? Did he not articulate himself properly? Why couldn't we just disagree with his point? She basically said, shut the hell up and dribble a basketball. That's what she said. Do we really, really, really need to get into the weeds of some of the people's backgrounds who voted for this president? If we went there, what would we find? Just a question. I don't know the answer to that, but I suspect some people would have very vivid answers. And the reason why I'm never a shy about attacking this issue, because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a conservative. I'm not a diehard liberal either. I'm a registered independent. I voted for Obama twice. But I got news for you. This past election, there's at least 9 or 10 candidates that I would have voted for over Hillary. At least 9 or 10 Republican candidates I would have voted over Hillary. I think about what's best for the country. I don't think about one candidate that is particularly likable or not likable. I don't get caught up in all of that. I really don't. didn't mind Rand Paul that much. Kasich in Ohio, I loved him. He'd have got my vote. I'll put myself out on Front Street right now. I'd have voted for him. Christie, well, I live in Jersey. I don't know if I'd have voted for him. But I preferred him over Corzine. And to put myself on Front Street, I ain't scared. I voted for Christie over Corzine. Yes, I did. In New Jersey, yes, I did. I bring up guys like a Sean Hannity or an Armstrong Williams or Mark Levin or what have you, especially with Mark Levin and Sean Hannity, because they are die-hard, zealot conservatives. And damn it, boy, do they have great radio shows. They really do. And for those of you out there that want to talk about Mark Levin, let me tell you something right now. I dare you to debate that man. Good Lord have mercy, does that man know his stuff. Constitutional law expert. Go ahead and mess with him if you want to. Go ahead, be my guest. Good luck. So I might disagree with their perspectives, but I happen to think they're just diehard conservatives who have a view of this country that some of us might not have, which is their right. And anybody who sits there and tried to excoriate or castigate them as a human being, I would fight that because I talked to them enough to know better. But they ain't my girl Karen Hunter, my man Joe Madison, and a few of the others that I know from my community that lean towards the left. I love them too. I love them differently. I have a more intimate relationship with those people. But facts are facts. And here's what I do know. Got to remember, Mark Levin endorsed Ted Cruz. Sean Hannity didn't endorse anybody. He just said, I'm anti-Hillary. Whoever wins on the right, I'm going with them over Hillary. I don't give a damn who it is. That's what he said. My response to both of them is that they're loving fathers with daughters. How you feel about the president's rhetoric and the way he conducted himself? Not his politics. And if you felt that way about them, why doesn't a LeBron James and a Kevin Durant have the right to feel that way about them? Especially when you're that athlete that will literally, just because you dribble a basketball and you're elite at that, suddenly you got to be a role model. Suddenly you got to be philanthropic and charitable. Suddenly you got to give up your time and your money and all of this other stuff. The greatness of you is usurped by the privilege you have to play the game that has enabled you to make riches. Everybody else got a skill. And everybody else earned their way. Oh, but you're lucky and you're privileged and you're supposed to act X, Y, and Z just because you're great. And it happens to be in a profession that pays you millions of dollars. Athletes are held to a higher standard. Athletes are held to a different standard. Athletes are held to a standard some would argue they're ill-equipped to deal with just because they make millions of dollars. But the billionaire that happens to be the president, who has the power to take us into war, who has the power to sit up there and legislate policy that affects the lives of over 350 plus million Americans in the United States of America. Oh no, he can't be held to a standard by those very athletes you bother to hold to standards in their damn 20s. What's wrong? Y'all don't see something wrong with that picture? You don't see something wrong with the fact that you will sit up there and hold LeBron James and Kevin Durant responsible for the imagery that they put in the eyes of your children. But the president can act any way he wants. You don't see something wrong with that picture? Really? Really? Stephen A., I'm talking about myself in the third person. Stephen A., I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Stephen A., because as passionate as you are so respectful, because listening to you, Stephen A., your voice is resonating so much. Lord knows we know you want to go the hell off. And to restrain yourself to such a degree, you deserve to be applauded. Congratulations, Stephen A. We're so proud. We're so proud. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
We're going to spend a lot of time in hour number 2 getting to your phone calls because obviously people got a lot to say and we want to give them an opportunity to say it. ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show, brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That is the number to call into the Stephen A. Smith Show. By the way, remember that First Take on Mondays, Max and I tape a First Take, Your Take segment. Throughout the rest of the week, folks send in their videos responding to it to showcase their debate skills, at which time we pick from those crops of individuals who've sent in their videos, and then we pick a winner, and that winner gets to debate against yours truly, or Max, but primarily it's usually me. First Take, Your Take on Fridays. So I just debated a winner today on Facebook Live. And that individual, he and I just finished debating. You can go First Take right now. First Take, Your Take. Facebook Live right now. You can go check it out. It's on there. Somebody debated me. Just another individual got slayed. He tried to go up against a man and it didn't work out. There's levels to this, ladies and gentlemen. You don't just wake up knowing how to debate, no matter what you think you know. He tried. It was a good try. He was funny, lively, outspoken. Molly tried to cheer him on and instigate the proceedings and play favorites. Didn't help him. Didn't help him one bit. He still lost. But I applaud the effort. And I'm just encouraging y'all to watch First Take every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Radio. First Take, Your Take segments on Fridays. Make sure you click on that. Watch that. It's there now. And if y'all want to get beat down by yours truly on a weekly basis, feel free to send in the video. And if you're gifted enough to get beat down, I'll put you on there. Just want you to know that. Hour number 2 up next. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. A whole bunch of people got something to say about LeBron and Kevin Durant. And we're going to listen to them and then some. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. Hour number 2 is Stephen A. up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. We're not going to just talk about LeBron and Kevin Durant and their words about the president and how Laura Ingraham, host on Fox News, Laura Ingraham, not Ingraham. I apologize again for mispronouncing her name. It's Laura Ingraham, host of Fox News channel, basically telling LeBron to stick to dribbling. Nobody voted for you. That's basically what she said. But we're not going to just talk about that. Commissioner Adam Silver had comments about Magic Johnson, along with various other things going on All-Star Weekend. But I do need to go back to that before I get to the phone calls because of this reason. Laura Ingraham's comments sparked a response, not just from Dwayne Wade of now Miami Heat, but from Chris Long, member of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, who happens to be the son of Fox Sports Howie Long, the great Howie Long, Hall of Famer Howie Long. And not only is he the son of Howie Long, he also happens to be a Super Bowl champion. He also happens to be white. And he had a problem with what Laura Ingraham said. So what he did was put out a thread of tweets featuring screenshots of entertainers who have previously been brought on the air by Fox News to discuss politics. Actors, athletes, directors like Clint Eastwood, actors like John Voight, and others. I mean, you've had entertainers and you've had athletes speaking about politics. You've had coaches like Lou Holtz, who used to work at ESPN for years, speaking about politics. No problem there. But with the black athlete, shut up and dribble. Really? That's what she said? Dwayne Wade, three-time champion Dwayne Wade, also felt the need to speak up and listen to his comment, quote, "They used to try and hide it. Now the president has given everyone the courage to live their truths." You see what LeBron James and Kevin Durant were talking about in terms of divisiveness? Because suddenly you got the courage to just speak out and say what you want to say. Because ultimately, in the end, this is how you were thinking about athletes all along, huh? I'm just saying. 888, say ESPN. That is the number to call up right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Let's go to Tanner in Oregon. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., good morning out there. Hey,
good morning. Go ahead, buddy.
So my thing with, I don't disagree with the issues at hand or even what they said towards Mr. Trump. What I have a problem with, though, is leadership. All right, just because LeBron James and Kevin Durant are very successful basketball players, Durant being one of my favorite players, does not make them a leader. And quite frankly, I find that's the part that offends me is they're judging somebody else on how he views his leadership needing, which is wrong at times. Their leadership, you can't pick a side when you want to talk about leadership. That's not what leaders do.
Well, I don't understand your gripe. What exactly is it that you're trying to say? Because it's not clear.
What I'm trying to say is when they busted him down about their leaders and he's not a leader, well, essentially what they're doing is the same exact thing that Mr. Trump does from time to time is he chooses a side. Leaders can't choose a side.
That's not true. That's an ignorant statement. You can certainly choose a side if you believe a leader isn't exuding leadership capabilities. Leaders bring people together. They galvanize folks so you can maximize the potential of the people you represent. And if you don't believe that a leader is doing that, you have every right to say so. And they don't believe a leader is doing it. This particular leader is doing that by virtue of meaning this leader, meaning this president. That's their thought process. And it's something that we've lamented time and time again. And where I dare say, this is where I jump off the rails with the Republican or the conservative establishment. In this respect only, you are known for applying standards. You are known for demanding standards. There's a way to do things. You got to remember, they wanted a president impeached. I don't need to tell you the reasons why they wanted Bill Clinton impeached. You know the story. You look at every little thing. When you have conservatives, they were fixated on behavior to the point where you were willing to be invasive enough to delve into people's personal lives and, dare I say, their bedrooms, to sort of monitor and mandate a level of behavior that's consistent with how this nation wants its leaders to represent its people. And all of that was thrown to the wayside when it came to this man. And what the athletes are doing is saying, wait a minute. And I'll put it to you this way, Tanner. Are you ready for this question?
I'm ready for it.
If Barack Obama conducted himself the way that this president conducted himself, would he have ever been elected for president of the United States of America?
Now, okay.
Oh, no, don't you dare. Don't you dare answer my damn question. Answer it.
There's a high probability that probably not.
A high probability? A high probability. Goodbye, Tanner. Have a nice day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Stephen A. Smith Show. I don't play that game. You're going to be honest with me. Now, you could come out with reasons, but what you're going to do is you're going to answer my question. You're going to answer my question. You ain't going to dance around it, and you ain't going to sit up there and use words like high probability. There's a reason that 43 presidents in American history existed and not one of them were black. There is no question that a black man was held to a higher standard. If you are an athlete, how are you supposed to think about that? You're a superstar athlete but do y'all realize that LeBron James has never been in trouble? Do you realize that LeBron James, who's been on the cover of Sports Illustrated since he was 17 years old, that LeBron James, who's a 3-time champion, that LeBron James, who's made it to 8 NBA finals, that LeBron James, who's in discussion of being on the Mount Rushmore of NBA annals, without question, one of the top 5 players in the history of basketball, who, by the way, in the process is worth nearly $1 billion and has a Twitter following the size of maybe every newspaper in the United States of America combined. The man has 40 million newspaper followers. Twitter followers. 40 million. 40 million. 40 million. Do y'all realize that that guy has never even been in the news for a parking ticket? I'm going to try it again. Forget a crime. Forget salacious or unsavory behavior. Forget any of that. Do you realize that LeBron James and Kevin Durant have never even been in the news for a parking or a speeding ticket? Do you understand the magnitude of what I just said? The microscope that these dudes are under? And they have never been in the news. LeBron made news because he took his talents to South Beach. And Kevin Durant made news of a negative variety because he went to the Golden State Warriors. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing. Nothing. Ever in their careers. And we still have reasons to complain about them. But the President of the United States, come on, y'all. He ain't serious. It's just a little misspeaking. That's all. Sorry to sound like Ocho Cinco, but child, please. 888, say ESPN. Your calls are more in a minute. Plus Adam Silver on Magic Johnson. Keep listening. Don't touch that dial. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer. You will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Before I go back to the phones, let me say this. Adam Silver spoke about Magic Johnson. Remember that fine that Adam Silver exacted towards Magic Johnson, which I thought was completely and utterly bogus, a $50,000 fine, just because Magic Johnson said that the Greek Freak's going to win an NBA championship one day, which is utterly ridiculous to me why he should be fined for such a thing. The greatest point guard in the history of basketball, a 5-time champion, a pundit on television circuits can't say that a guy's going to win a championship one day? Fine $50,000 for that? I don't understand it. I just don't. But here was Adam Silver on the jump with Rachel Nichols justifying that fine yesterday. Listen up.
I got to ask you about something I was confused about the league did last week. Magic Johnson fined $50,000 for tampering, and the specific is what I didn't quite get, because I get that he is on thinner ice because he's had the tampering violation before. But he told our Nick Friedel for an article on ESPN.com, he was talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was just sort of speaking as an elder statesman of the game. Quote, this dude is going to put Milwaukee on the map. He's going to bring them a championship one day. How is that tampering?
Well, I think you, in essence, made the point that context is everything, and there had been a prior issue with the Lakers earlier this season, and the message to not just Magic, but all the executives in the league is stop talking about players on other teams.
How do you do that, though, when one thing we like in this league is that our former players, our legends, are involved in today's NBA, right? We want Magic Johnson as president of the Lakers. That's a big boost for the Lakers to have a guy like that come back. But also when you want fans to be able to have access to their opinions on today's players.
It's a balance, and we love having all these legends involved in the games, but the other teams seem to be able to follow those rules, and that is don't talk about players on other teams. I mean, incidentally, we could change that rule, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think that, yes, we'd love to hear players like Magic Johnson talk about how great young players are in the league, but there's enough commentary out there, and I think when unbalanced, just asking them to refrain from that one aspect of talking about other players isn't that big a deal.
I completely and utterly disagree with Commissioner Adam Silver on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to a game and let's say, for example, the New York Knicks are about to play the Golden State Warriors, and Steve Mills, the president of basketball operations, happens to be getting interviewed that day. And the media says, Steph Curry's coming into town. What do you think about Steph Curry? You trying to tell me that Steve Mills deserves a $50,000 fine because he says Steph Curry is phenomenal. He's the greatest shooter in the game. And he keeps playing this way. I think he's going to win 2 more championships. That's a finable offense. Come on, Adam Silver. Come on. I completely disagree with that. Love Adam, though, but I completely disagree. Miles and Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., you're going so fast this morning, and I love you for it, and I love you. But actually, just to keep up with the show, Magic Johnson is a legend, but he's also now entered the role as a general manager. So which role are you doing? I agree with Adam Silver 100%. Magic is a GM. Magic doesn't need to be doing press. They have PR department.
Stop right there. Magic doesn't do interviews every day. But when you get interviewed, you get asked questions. I've asked executives questions before about an opposing team's player in terms of their playing ability, and they've showered an athlete with compliments, and they weren't fined $50,000. That's a fact.
The Pompo Caputo, sorry. You don't have the money to pay him a max contract like Magic Johnson is going to in 1 or 2 years. So, yes, Magic Johnson saying something nice about him is a lot different than you.
You're wrong, Miles. I just answered your question. There are GMs who have been complimentary about players on other teams before. When a team is coming to your city to play your team and you happen to do an interview, you have commented before without getting fined. That is a fact. And it should not change just because it's Magic Johnson.
It's any GM, Steve Mills or whoever you refer to regarding the Knicks.
But they're not fined.
He shouldn't be talking in the press anyway. He needs to focus on that losing basketball.
What the hell you mean they shouldn't be talking? Excuse me, you're a general manager for a team. What are you talking about? You shouldn't be talking. At least periodically every year, every GM talks. I don't give a damn if it's from LA to Milwaukee to New York and Boston. Danny Ainge ain't quoted anywhere. He's never said anything. Of course he has. It's ridiculous.
Players?
Goodbye. You've irritated me as an ignorant comment on your part. I keep telling you, executives speak. They don't speak every day, but they speak periodically throughout the year. And they have been complimentary about players. And it doesn't warrant a $50,000 fine. You telling me what should or shouldn't happen, I'm telling you it has. Win in Indiana, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, pleasure to talk to you, Stephen A. Good afternoon.
Go ahead, man. What's up?
I was wondering if the NBA voted the All-Stars and then LeBron and Stephen pick from those, or did LeBron and Stephen pick randomly from the NBA?
No, what happened is that you select the All-Stars. And once the All-Stars are in, the captains for each team select players from that pool of All-Stars who've been voted into the game.
See. Yeah, I was just, if LeBron James and Stephen Curry just picked out of the random NBA, any player, I thought it was that way, then I couldn't really understand, or it wouldn't have been fair for players like Paul George and Kristaps Porzingis not to be an all-star, which I think should be.
But it is what it is. It's happened, bro. It's happened. It's done. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Anthony in Harlem. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. What's up?
Go ahead, man.
All right. First of all, I just want to say I love what you do, and I love the fact that you talk about some of these issues that people may not consider sports issues. But I just want to comment on what
this is a sports issue. LeBron James and Kevin Durant is a sports issue, without question. It might not be the issue that makes you comfortable, makes somebody else comfortable, rather, but it is a sports issue. Absolutely.
Yep, and her comment, I was floored when I heard you say it on the show because I haven't heard it since, and I feel like just because you dribble a basketball or whatever you do in your profession, it doesn't define who you are. We had a Knicks player, Bill Bradley, who went on to be a politician. We have Kevin Johnson, who was a politician.
How about Steve Largent, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks years ago, who became a politician?
And our current president was a reality TV host. So how dare she decide because of what you do, it restricts you from commenting on what's going on in the world?
It was a highly insensitive comment on her part. I don't want to castigate her in terms or character assassinate her as if, oh my God, that one comment defines who she is. She does an outstanding job. She's done an outstanding job for years as a pundit. She's doing a good job as a television host. I'm not here to sit up there and character assassinate Laura Ingraham. I'm saying that her specific comment about LeBron James and Kevin Durant was incredibly insulting and highly insensitive, even on a racial level, in terms of how far she took it. She has no business making that damn statement. None whatsoever. And she certainly hasn't said, you know what, say it about a baseball player. Chris Long is a white player in the NFL that took issue for what you said. I want to hear what you have to say about him. By the way, he went to Virginia, graduated from there. What you going to say about him?
And in addition, these guys do know something about leadership, and I understand it's just a game, but you learn about leadership, and it takes a leader to lead a team to a championship, as we all know. Follow sports.
You know what else she left out? She left out the part. Since she watched LeBron say that, she left out the part when LeBron sat up there and said, "I'm a basketball player. I'm a professional athlete. I obviously got a boatload of money, okay, and I'm non-threatening." But it still didn't stop the N-word from being spray painted on my house. She left that commentary out. She didn't bring that up. She didn't bring that up at all.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, my brother, and I really, really appreciate you, and I love your show, and keep holding it down.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. 888-SAY-ESPN, that's 888-729-3776. We'll continue to talk about NBA All-Star Weekend, about LeBron and Durant making news in some people's eyes for the wrong reasons and other people's eyes for exactly the right reason. All of that and more will continue right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones we go at Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Tyler in Philly. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Hey, so I've sort of talk about the LeBron and the political comments. So do you remember back when Obama was still in office, the whole Malcolm Brown thing, the hands up, don't shoot?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I believe how this pertains to my argument is I was in the Army. I just got out. And a lot of times in the Army, like sometimes you get from like the White House and such, they want to gather all the details before they go ahead and say something, because then it can come back and bite you in the behind. And I think the Malcolm Brown thing is a perfect example. I'm all for, the athletes using their platform, because I think they should. People gravitate towards them regardless of what sport is, like the LeBron James and the Kevin Durant of the world. Well, when that whole thing happened, you had President Obama. He didn't exactly come out and condone the cop, but when everything was said and done, it came out that in some way the cop was essentially justified because the facts were not what really was portrayed out to the public.
That's fair.
And what I'm saying is, pertaining to President Trump, is I heard you saying earlier about supposedly there was something reported about him being linked to white supremacy. But at the same time, I think some people have
Whoa. I never said that. I never accused the president of being, connected to white supremacy. What I said was white nationalists and white supremacist groups have been linked to individuals who've committed heinous crimes. And he has come across as either reluctant to speak out against them, procrastinating along the way, and that has raised eyebrows. That's what I said. See, There's a difference. I didn't accuse the president of that. I didn't do that.
What's wrong? I didn't mean to portray it like that. That's right. That's essentially all I'm getting at. I personally believe that, granted, yes, we're not. I'm not the president. You're not the president. But I can't really sit there and criticize the guy, because I don't know what.
Let me put you on pause. Let me put you on pause. But they can, because they didn't get into the weeds of all the details. They point to a behavior that no other president has conducted. Do you understand that Republican elected officials have spoken out against the behavior of the president? So understand that it's not political. It's the fact that we're the greatest country in the world, and he represents us abroad and in this nation, and the standards upon which we've applied to everyone else throughout American history, he has gotten away with circumventing. And the black athlete that is LeBron James and Kevin Durant, who are role models and placed with the burden of having to live in an upstanding fashion and conduct themselves by dotting their I's and crossing their T's to ward off cynicism, criticism, and beyond, the same standards that are applicable to them as 20 and 30-year-olds isn't applicable, apparently, to the president of the United States. Why shouldn't an athlete have a problem with that?
No,
I would have a problem. I have a problem, and I got to go. I appreciate the call. Thank you. I got a problem. If I'm younger and I'm just an athlete and I have no impact on other people's lives to that degree, and I'm held to a higher standard, that somebody who contributes to legislating policy is the leader of the free world in the United States of America. I got a problem if he's held to a lower standard than me. That should be in reverse. And I think that's what you're getting from LeBron and Kevin Durant. How come no one will bring up the comment about what LeBron, when he called the president a bum and he said it was an honor to come to the White House until you got there? He did not say it was an honor to come to the White House when Obama was there. He did not say it was an honor to come to the White House when Clinton was there. He did not say it would be an honor to go to the White House if Hillary Rodham Clinton were there. He said it was an honor to go to the White House, period, until you arrive. He is not talking about politics. He is talking about one man And why are people in such an uproar to come to the defense of the man? Why can't you sit up there and go like this? Well, you know what? I might like some of the policies he's incorporating. It might work for me, but damn, I'm embarrassed by his behavior and his statesmanship or lack thereof. Why is that such a problem? I'm covering sports. I host a radio show and a television show. I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. If I fail to say that LeBron James had a bad night when he shot 5 for 20, or Kevin Durant has a bad day or a bad week because he's only shooting 20% from the field, y'all will get on me. Why? Because I'm not doing my job of calling it like it is. Why won't y'all do it? And why have a problem with the athlete that does? Your calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
You know what? The celebrity game on ESPN tonight, fine. Skills competition, slam dunk contest, 3-point shooting contest. I can't wait for that tomorrow night. Only thing I'm worried about is the damn game. Because I don't want to see guys. Yeah, you don't want to get hurt out there. You don't want to compromise your team. But damn, you can play hard in the summertime. How come you can't play a little bit harder in an all-star game? That's just how I feel about it. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Morris in Long Beach. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Morris.
Yes, how you doing, sir? Are you on board now? With the Clippers winning the NBA championship this year, or are you still kind of behind?
Have a nice life. I will not entertain such ignorance. Goodbye. The Clippers winning the championship. Just a stupid comment. Mustafa in Vancouver, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
I just want to quickly comment on the whole lady with Fox News. I don't recall her saying anything when Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich were talking against Trump. So, I mean,
neither
obviously you and I both know the reason behind that. So I thought it was highly offensive, and he has a platform to speak, and undermining his education is just a low blow. And he sent thousands of kids.
I also don't recall her saying anything when Mark Cuban spoke.
Exactly, and he sends thousands of kids in his area of Ohio to college every single year. So he does a lot of things for the community, and she fails to mention any of that stuff. It's just to pursue her own agenda. So
yep.
The other comment I wanted to say was I hope the All-Star game is more competitive than years past, because I watched the 90s and early 2000s, and that's the era that I grew up in, and it was incredibly much more competitive than it is now.
Just compete. That's all I ask. Mustafa, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Dominic in D.C., you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., what's up, my brother?
I'm good, bro. Go ahead.
I got a lot to say about that whole Ingram situation, but I'm not even going to get into it because I wouldn't even have enough time.
Go ahead.
I do have two things that I want to ask you, because I've been having this debate with a couple of my friends on Facebook.
You used 30 seconds already, and you ain't get to the point. Go ahead.
All right. First, when we going to start talking about DeMar DeRozan as a real contender for the MVP? He's been holding the Raptors down all season.
He's a contender. They're the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and DeMar DeRozan is balling. He deserves contention for league MVP. You're right. What's your second point?
Definitely. And also, now, Tom Brady, a lot of people say Tom Brady is the best football player ever to play. Now, I kind of feel indifferent because...
Call me back another time with that, Dominique. I ain't talking about no football today. It's NBA All-Star Weekend. NBA All-Star Weekend, bro. Let's talk about Tom Brady another day. All right? Thanks a lot. Let's go to Ron in Michigan. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen A. I don't want to get political or anything. I just want to totally agree with what you had to say just before the break.
Okay, what was that? What were you agreeing with?
Well, I'm just agreeing that Trump does not represent the office of the president the way it should be represented. And as such, I don't think it represents the United States.
Okay. I appreciate that call, sir. And I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to call me. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Kenneth in Tennessee, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Kenneth, go ahead.
Mr. Smith, how you doing?
I'm all right. Thank you for calling.
I just want to comment about Miss Ingram. she said that LeBron left high school early to play ball, and we all know that's totally incorrect.
Yeah, he completed high school. Yes, go ahead.
She that shows you how much he knows about sports and how much merit that comment has. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. Let's go to Chris in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead.
I'm a teacher in New Jersey, and as with everybody after all this stuff a couple of days ago, it's been a tough couple of days talking to our students. But in regards to this Kevin Durant and LeBron James thing, I applaud them as well as any athlete that uses their platform to try and do good. I'm an Eagles fan, so it goes without saying that Chris Long has a special place in my heart for all the stuff that he's done this year. And it's really sad to see all these people trying to condemn these athletes for using their platform to try and do good, speaking about leadership and what we need in this country. And especially the good stuff that Chris Long has done this year with his donating his whole salary to Charlottesville and education. But LeBron and KD are right. We have a leader who has just sent out thoughts and prayers to these victims in Florida, whereas when we had that unfortunate killing of Edwin Jackson the other day, the first thing that happens is we need to talk about our borders and immigration.
Hey, listen, Chris, I got your point. You're absolutely right on the money. I don't disagree with you. I just got to get to another caller, but I thank you for your call, and you're absolutely right. I appreciate it. Alfred in Manhattan, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, you only got a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to say is that with Miss Ingram, I think what she said is very loaded. I'm an African immigrant that came into this country. And to make it sure, what I'm trying to say is that when you bring the level of education of LeBron together with the fact that the description of his work that he gets a ball, I think she is trying to demean what LeBron does for a living and trying to say he does not have a voice in that arena.
That's exactly what she's trying to do, Alfred. I got to go, but you're absolutely right about that. That's how I took it. And she's going to have to explain that. We all know that she was coming in the defense of Trump. We get that. We understand it. But the words that she chose to use, bringing up his education or lack thereof, and basically telling him to bounce the ball, and that's about it. She's going to have to explain that. Especially with some of the guests they've had on that channel. She's going to have to explain it. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. I'll holler at you on Monday. Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.